On an elegant night, the glamour of an exclusive club is shattered when a seemingly perfect executive reveals his abusive side by publicly assaulting his pregnant wife. The entire room freezes, and a mysterious waiter emerges as an unexpected protector. Nothing will ever be the same. If you like stories like this, watch until the end, subscribe to this channel, and leave a comment telling us where you're listening from. The silence was heavy as lead inside the 3-story mansion on the Upper East Side of Manhattan. Ryan Miller watched the impeccable garden from his office window, where 3 identical little girls sat completely still on a stone bench: Ava, Sophia, and Mia, his daughters, 5-year-old triplets who hadn't spoken a word in exactly 24 months. The clock struck 6 p.m. as he descended the marble staircase, loosening the Italian tie that cost more than most people make in a month. At 38, Ryan had built a tech empire that had made him a billionaire before 40. Ride-sharing apps, digital payment platforms, investments in artificial intelligence. His name regularly appeared on lists of the country's most influential entrepreneurs, but none of that mattered when he looked at those 3 children, lost in a world of their own. Helen, the housekeeper who had been with the family for 15 years, approached with a tray of fresh juice. She was a woman in her early 50s, with grey hair always tied in a neat bun and kind eyes that held a maternal concern. "Mr. Miller, the girls didn't touch their afternoon snack again," she whispered, her voice tinged with sadness. Ryan nodded, feeling the familiar weight tighten in his chest. He walked out to the garden, his Italian leather shoes making a muffled sound on the perfectly manicured lawn. He knelt before the triplets, forcing a smile that didn't reach his tired eyes. "Girls, Daddy brought a surprise. Remember that color game Mommy used to play with you?" He pulled 3 colorful bracelets from his pocket, each in one of his daughter's favorite colors. "Ava, this one is pink, just like you love. Sophia, light blue like the sky. And Mia, yellow like the sunflowers in the garden." Nothing. Not a blink, not a flicker of recognition. Just that terrifying emptiness that had settled in since that awful day, 24 months ago, when Chloe, his wife, had suddenly been taken from them, a massive brain aneurysm. One morning she was singing nursery rhymes to the girls, making breakfast, and filling the house with life. By the afternoon, she was gone. Ryan felt his throat tighten. He stood up, putting the bracelets back in his pocket. This was his daily ritual of failure. Try, fail, try again, fail once more. Back in his office, he opened the secret drawer of his rosewood desk. Inside, he kept Chloe's most precious belongings: a beige wool blanket she used when she read on the sofa. Her perfume still clung to the fabric, even after all this time. Ryan pressed his face into the blanket, letting the tears flow freely. Here alone he could just be a broken man, not the ruthless CEO, not the billionaire, just a devastated, helpless father. The tablet on his desk showed his schedule for the next day. A 9 a.m. meeting with Japanese investors, a conference on blockchain at noon, a charity dinner in the evening, a lifetime of commitments that only served to fill the void, to keep from thinking, to keep from feeling. But then came the night, and with it, the secret ritual no one knew about. Ryan would connect his laptop to the bedroom TV and watch the old home videos. Chloe, pregnant, singing to her belly. Chloe in the hospital, holding 3 tiny babies in her arms, her eyes shining with happiness. Chloe teaching the girls to take their first steps, her sweet voice echoing through the room. "Come to Mommy, my love, that's it, one little step at a time." He watched on low volume, afraid that Helen or one of the staff might hear, afraid they would see the powerful man falling to pieces every single night. On this particular night, Ryan opened a different folder. Videos of Chloe singing. She had a beautiful, soft voice and was always making up silly songs for the girls. There was one video in particular he usually avoided, but tonight he felt compelled to watch. Chloe was in the triplets' nursery with the 3 infants, singing a lullaby she had written herself. 3 little stars in my sky, 3 rays of sun and honey pie, 3 little hearts that beat as one with mine. Ryan had to pause the video. The pain was physical, like a blade piercing his chest. How did she make it all look so easy? that abundant, overflowing love that seemed to heal everything with a simple smile. The next morning, Helen appeared with a list of new specialists to try with the girls. Over the past 2 years, Ryan had consulted 23 different psychologists, 7 child psychiatrists, 4 occupational therapists specializing in trauma, 3 child grief experts flown in from across the country, and even 2 renowned professionals from France. He had tried music therapy, art therapy, animal-assisted therapy. He'd brought in horses, trained dogs, Persian cats. Nothing worked. In his desperation, he had even sought out spiritual alternatives. Helen, a devout Catholic, had suggested a folk healer her mother knew from rural Appalachia. Ryan, who had never believed in such things, agreed. The old woman came, brushed the girls with herbs, recited ancient prayers, lit candles. The triplets remained inert. A business associate recommended a shaman who worked with crystals and sound frequencies. Another suggested Reiki. An acquaintance of Chloe's mentioned family constellations therapy. Ryan tried everything. He spent a fortune. He moved mountains. And he kept failing. What destroyed him most was the guilt. That corrosive feeling that if he had been a better father, more present, maybe the girls wouldn't have shut down so completely. In the last few years before Chloe's passing, he had been building his most important company. Constant travel, meetings that ran late into the night, weekends spent working. Chloe was always understanding, always patient, always handling everything on her own. "Go on, honey," she would say with that radiant smile. "We're fine here. When you get back, we'll have a picnic in the park. The girls are so excited." But he would come back too tired, or he'd have to review contracts or prepare presentations. There was always something more urgent, always a reason to postpone family time. And now Chloe was gone, and the girls had retreated into an impenetrable cocoon, and he had all the money in the world, but couldn't buy the one thing that truly mattered, the sound of his daughters' voices. "Mr. Miller," Helen interrupted his thoughts that Thursday morning, "there's a new specialist in New York. He came from Switzerland, works with cases of severe selective mutism in children. They say he gets extraordinary results." Ryan sighed but nodded. Another one. Always another one. Hope was a cruel torture he couldn't seem to abandon. 3 days later, Dr. Klaus Bergman was sitting in the mansion's living room. A man in his 60s, with white hair, round glasses, and the air of someone who had seen it all. He observed the triplets for 40 minutes without saying a word. Then he turned to Ryan. "Mr. Miller, I have worked with hundreds of similar cases around the world," he said in English with a thick German accent. "I can say with certainty that your daughters are in a state of profound traumatic dissociation. The loss of their mother at this age so suddenly created a severe psychological shock. They have disconnected from the external world as a defense mechanism." "I know that, doctor," Ryan replied, trying to control his impatience. "Everyone tells me the same thing. What I want to know is how to bring them back." The doctor adjusted his glasses. "The treatment I propose involves 3 weekly sessions of EMDR therapy, combined with neurofeedback. We will work on processing the traumatic memory and on neural reconditioning. A 6-month intensive protocol. Another 6 months. More protocols. More hopes that would likely curdle into frustration." But Ryan agreed, as he always did, because giving up wasn't an option. The weeks dragged, on in a numbing routine. In the morning, Ryan would wake at 5, run 6 miles on the treadmill, trying to exhaust his body so his mind would stop racing. At 7, he'd have coffee while reading financial reports. At 8, he'd go to the girls' room, kiss their foreheads and whisper good morning to 3 pairs of empty eyes. By 9, he was in meetings that decided the future of thousands of jobs, moved millions in investments, and shaped the national tech landscape. At night, he would return home, eat dinner alone while Helen fed the girls in their room, go up to his office and work until he was exhausted. Only then would he go to his room, watch the videos of Chloe on low volume, hug the blanket that held her scent, and cry himself to sleep. On weekends, he tried to play with his daughters. He would take toys out of the colorful closets in the playroom, dolls, building blocks, storybooks. He would sit on the floor beside them, making funny voices, imitating characters. "Look, girls, Daddy's a dinosaur. Grrr!" Ava, Sophia, and Mia would remain seated, staring into space. One Saturday afternoon, he was overcome with despair. He knelt before the three of them, held their small cold hands and looked into each of their eyes. "Please," his voice broke, "please, talk to me. Anything. One word. One sound. Daddy's here. Daddy's always been here. I know I'm failing you. I know I'm not Mommy, but I love you more than anything in this world. Please let me in. Let me help." Tears streamed down his face. Helen, watching from the doorway, brought a hand to her mouth, her own eyes welling up. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Ryan collapsed right there, on his knees on the floor, sobbing. The girls remained motionless, like three small porcelain statues. It was Helen who suggested a change of routine. "Mr. Miller, maybe it would be good for the girls to get out a little. They're inside all day. How about taking them to an appointment somewhere else? A change of scenery might help." Ryan agreed without much conviction. The following Tuesday, he dressed the triplets in matching outfits, tied their hair into identical ponytails, and put them in the car. An armored SUV, tinted windows, beige leather interior. The driver, John, a grey-haired man who had worked for the family for years, knew the way to Dr. Bergman's office on Park Avenue. Traffic was heavy that morning. New York City was buzzing with its chaotic routine of honking horns, buses, and motorcycles weaving between cars. Ryan sat in the back with the three girls, each looking out her own window, lost in their private, inaccessible worlds. The car stopped at a red light on the corner of 57th Street. Ryan was distractedly scrolling through his phone, answering work emails, when he noticed movement outside. An elderly woman, she must have been in her 70s, was pushing a rusty shopping cart filled with cans, plastic bottles, and cardboard. Her clothes were simple, patched but clean. Her face was weathered by time and sun, her hands calloused from a lifetime of work. The woman passed by the car, and as she glanced through the window, her eyes met the girls. She smiled. A wide, genuine smile, the kind that lights up an entire face. And she waved, wiggling her fingers in a delicate gesture. Ryan almost dropped his phone when he saw it. Ava blinked. It was a quick, almost imperceptible movement, but he saw it. Sophia turned her head slightly, toward the woman. Mia wiggled the fingers of her right hand. "John, wait!" Ryan practically shouted as the light turned green. "Don't go yet!" But the car behind them honked impatiently. Traffic began to flow. The woman with the cart continued on her way down the sidewalk, and they had to move forward. Ryan spent the rest of the drive in a state of shock. 24 months. 24 months without a single reaction. And now, a simple smile from a woman collecting recyclables had elicited movement from his girls. Minimal, almost invisible, but real. At the appointment with Dr. Bergman, he could barely concentrate. The doctor made his meticulous notes, applied his protocols, but Ryan was mentally back at that traffic light, reliving those precious seconds. "Mr. Miller, are you listening to me?" The doctor's voice brought him back to reality. "Sorry, doctor. I was thinking about something that happened this morning." "Anything relevant?" Ryan hesitated. Was it relevant, or was he clinging to false hope again? But he decided to tell him. He described the scene at the traffic light, the girl's small movements. Dr. Bergman jotted it all down. "Interesting. Sometimes unexpected stimuli can generate responses, but don't jump to conclusions. It could have been a coincidence, a motor reflex." Ryan knew the doctor was being rational, cautious. But something inside him, a father's intuition that had been buried under all the pain, whispered that it was no coincidence. In the following days, Ryan couldn't stop thinking about that moment. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday passed in a haze of meetings and reports, but his mind kept returning to that woman with the kind smile. The next Monday, he made a decision. "John, today we're taking the same route as last week, same street, same time." The driver glanced in, the rearview mirror intrigued, but nodded. He'd known his boss long enough not to ask questions. Ryan's heart raced as they approached the corner of 57th Street. He scanned the sidewalk intently, and then he saw her, the same woman with the same cart, collecting cans from a trash bin. "John, pull over here," Ryan ordered, pointing to a spot just ahead. The car parked, The woman passed by them, and again she looked inside the vehicle. Again, that luminous smile. And again, the reactions. But this time they were more intense. Ava smiled. It was a shy, faint smile. But it was there. Sophia raised her hand and waved back. Mia made a sound, something between a sigh and a muffled laugh. Ryan felt the world spin. His hands were shaking. 24 months of absolute silence. And now, for the second time, this unknown woman had sparked life in his daughters. He didn't think twice. He opened the car door, got out, and approached her. "Ma'am, please, wait a moment." The woman stopped, startled. She looked at this man in an impeccable suit, a Swiss watch on his wrist, with the bearing of someone used to giving orders. Her first instinct was suspicion. "I didn't do anything wrong, mister. I'm just collecting recyclables, it's allowed." No, you don't understand," Ryan said quickly, realizing the misunderstanding. "I just wanted to thank you." "Thank me? For what?" Ryan glanced back at the car, where the 3 girls were watching from the window. "My daughters. They haven't reacted to anything for a very long time. But when you smiled at them last week, and again just now, they reacted. I don't know how to explain it." The woman followed his gaze to the triplets. Her face softened. 3 beautiful little angels. God bless them. She made the sign of the cross. "But you don't need to thank me, son. A smile doesn't cost a thing. And children deserve smiles. What's your name?" "Mrs. Gloria. Gloria Santos." "Mrs. Gloria, could you wave to them again, just one more time?" The elderly woman seemed confused but agreed. She walked over to the car, bent down slightly to be at window level, and waved, smiling broadly. "Hi, sweetie. Hi, my love. Hi, little flower." Inside the car, the 3 girls reacted simultaneously. Ava clapped her hands weakly. Sophia pressed her hand against the glass. Mia let out a short but clear giggle. Ryan had to lean against the hood of the car. The tears came before he could stop them. John, from the driver's seat, was also emotional. It was the first time in 2 years that those children had shown anything resembling joy. Mrs. Gloria noticed the man's emotion. "Are you all right?" "I am." Ryan quickly wiped his face, trying to regain his composure. "I'm sorry. It's hard to explain." "No need to explain, son. That's how it is with kids. We cry for joy. We cry for sadness. It's all tears." She gave his arm a comforting pat. In that moment, Ryan had an impulse. "Mrs. Gloria, would you have time for a cup of coffee? I'd like to talk to you." The woman looked at her cart full of materials. "Look, son, I appreciate it, but I have to work. This stuff here is my livelihood. I'll pay you what you would have earned today. Please, it's important." Mrs. Gloria hesitated. There was something about this man that seemed genuine, even desperate, and she'd always had a good heart. "All right, but just a quick coffee." They went to a diner on the corner. Ryan ordered coffee and toast for everyone. The girls sat at the table, and for the first time in months, when Mrs. Gloria offered a piece of toast to Ava, the little girl opened her mouth and accepted it. Ryan had to excuse himself for a moment, go to the restroom, where he finally allowed himself to cry freely. His daughter had eaten from a stranger's hand, something she had refused to do for so long. Back at the table, he watched as Mrs. Gloria talked to the girls. She didn't expect answers. She just spoke in that sweet, lilting voice. "Look what a beautiful day it is, little flower. The sky is as blue as your eyes. Did you see the birds outside? They were singing so early. My grandma used to say birds sing because they're happy. I wonder if that's true." And the girls looked at her, really looked. It wasn't the vacant stare they usually had. There was a connection there. When they finished their coffee, Ryan made his proposal. "Mrs. Gloria, I know this might sound strange, but I'd like to invite you to visit my home, to spend some time with the girls. They clearly respond to you in a way they don't respond to anyone else." The elderly woman frowned. "Son, I don't know. That doesn't seem right. You don't know me." "I know, but I'm desperate. My daughters haven't spoken in 2 years. Their mother, she passed away and they've been completely shut down ever since. I've brought in the best doctors, the best therapies. Nothing has worked. But you, with just a smile, have accomplished more than all of them combined." Mrs. Gloria was silent for a long moment. She looked at the 3 little girls who were now watching her intently. Her heart softened. Poor little things. Lost their mommy so young. "Please," Ryan begged. "I'm not asking for anything but your presence, just for you to spend a few hours with them. I'll pay for your time, of course." "I don't want payment for this," she said firmly. "If it's to help these little creatures, I'll do it because I want to, not for money." "So you'll accept?" Mrs. Gloria sighed. "I will, but only because these girls need it, and because God must have put me at that traffic light for a reason." Ryan could hardly believe it. He arranged for John to pick Mrs. Gloria up the next morning at the address she provided, a small house in a modest neighborhood in Queens. That night, for the first time in months, Ryan didn't watch the videos of Chloe. Instead, he lay awake thinking about the next day, about a hope he barely dared to entertain. When Mrs. Gloria arrived at the mansion on Wednesday morning, Helen greeted her at the door. The housekeeper was skeptical. Who was this simple woman her boss had brought home? But when she saw the triplets run to Mrs. Gloria for the first time in 2 years and hug her spontaneously, Helen covered her face in shock. "My God," she whispered, "it's a miracle." Ryan watched from a distance, from the top of the stairs. He saw his daughters hugging this unknown woman with an intensity that broke his heart. It was beautiful and painful at the same time. Beautiful because there was finally life in them. Painful because he, their father, had never received such a display of affection. Mrs. Gloria spent the entire morning with the girls. She took them to the garden, showed them the flowers, taught them the names. "This one is a rose, smell it." She picked one and let Ava smell it. The girl inhaled and smiled. "And this is a daisy. See how many petals? Let's count." She didn't count to 10 because the girls still weren't responding verbally, but she made gestures with her fingers. Mia tried to imitate her. Sophia touched the petals delicately. Ava held the flower as if it were the most precious treasure in the world. She sang old folk songs her own grandmother had taught her decades ago. "Ring around the rosy, a pocket full of posies." The girls were mesmerized by her melodious voice. After a few minutes, Mia started swaying her body to the rhythm of the music. At the end of the morning, something extraordinary happened. Mrs. Gloria was showing them how to make a daisy chain when Ava made a sound. Mm. The elderly woman froze. "What is it, sweetie? You can talk. Grandma's here." "Grandma." The word came out shaky, almost inaudible, but it was a word. Mrs. Gloria felt her eyes fill with tears. "That's right, my love. Grandma. I'm Grandma Gloria." From his office, Ryan watched everything through the window. When he heard through the baby monitor he still kept active in the garden, his daughter's first word in 2 years, he had to sit down. His legs gave out. The world spun. His daughter had spoken, but not to him. To a woman she had known for only 2 days. That night was the longest of his life. Ryan lay in the dark, trying to process the contradictory emotions tearing him apart. Immense gratitude for Mrs. Gloria, joy that his daughters were showing signs of life, but also a deep pain, an envy he was ashamed to admit. Why could a stranger reach them when he who loved them more than anything couldn't? In the following weeks, Mrs. Gloria started coming to the mansion 4 times a week. The transformation in the girls was visible. They began to make more sounds than simple words. Flower. Water. Grandma. They started eating with an appetite again. They smiled frequently. They played in the garden, running, chasing butterflies. Dr. Bergman was astonished when Ryan reported the progress. "It's extraordinary. I've never seen such a rapid reversal of traumatic mutism. Does this woman have any training in child psychology?" "None. She collects recyclables for a living." The doctor adjusted his glasses, intrigued. "Fascinating. Sometimes a genuine human bond surpasses any therapeutic protocol." Ryan knew he should be happy, and he was. But the happiness was accompanied by a sense of inadequacy that ate away at him. He was still just a distant presence to his daughters. When he came home from work, they were in the garden with Mrs. Gloria. When he tried to approach, they accepted his kisses and hugs, but not with the enthusiasm they showed the elderly woman. One evening, Helen found Ryan in his office, his head in his hands. "Mr. Miller, may I have a word?" "Of course, Helen. I know it's not my place, but you need to forgive yourself. The girls are getting better. That's what matters." "You don't understand, Helen. They don't see me the way they see Mrs. Gloria. I'm just someone who's here. I'm not the father I should be." "You are a good father. You're doing the best you can." "It's not enough," he whispered. It was then that Ryan began to change his routine. He started leaving work. Earlier, he'd get home at 4 p.m., an unheard of hour for him. He would sit in the garden, watch Mrs. Gloria interact with the girls and try to learn. The elderly woman had infinite patience. She never forced anything. She let things flow naturally. When Sophia got dirt on her dress, she would laugh. "No problem, little flower, dirt washes out. The important thing is that we have fun." When Mia refused to eat something, she didn't insist. "That's okay, my love. When you're hungry, Grandma's here." Ryan tried to do the same, but there was a rigidity in him, a tension that the girls could feel. He was trying too hard, and that created an invisible barrier. One day, Mrs. Gloria called him over for a chat in the garden while the girls were napping. "Mr. Ryan, can I give you some advice? Please. Stop trying so hard. The girls can feel it when you're nervous, when you're afraid of messing up. Just be yourself. Let it happen naturally." "I don't know how to do that, Mrs. Gloria. I never did. Chloe, my wife, she was the one who knew how to handle them. I've always been better with spreadsheets and contracts than with children." The elderly woman smiled kindly. "A child doesn't need perfection. A child needs presence, real presence. When you play with them, what are you thinking about?" Ryan hesitated. "About not failing, about doing it right. There's the problem. A child can tell. You have to play because you want to play, not because you're fulfilling an obligation. You have to make mistakes, be silly, get your knees dirty. Being a father isn't about executing a protocol. It's about living together." Mrs. Gloria's words echoed in Ryan's mind for days. He began to truly try. The following Saturday, he came down to the garden in shorts and a t-shirt, something he never did. He sat on the grass, not caring if he got dirty. He picked up the paintbrushes Mrs. Gloria had bought and started painting with the girls. He didn't try to teach. He didn't try to correct. He just painted. He made a green sun, a pink tree. The girls looked on, intrigued. Ava smiled and painted a purple dog. Sophia made a blue house with yellow windows. Mia covered the entire sheet of paper in red, and for the first time Ryan laughed, a real laugh at the absurdity of their nonsensical drawings, and the girls laughed with him. That night, when he went to put them to bed, Sophia held his hand. It was a small gesture, but it meant the world. The months passed, and the house began to feel like a home again. Mrs. Gloria had become an essential part of the family. Helen and she became friends. John loved talking to the elderly woman about the old days in New York, and Ryan, slowly, was learning to be a father. It was on a Thursday afternoon that everything changed. Ryan was in his office when he got a call from Edward Martin, one of his oldest partners. "Ryan, we need to talk. Urgently." Half an hour later, Edward was sitting in the living room, his face serious. "Look, I'll be direct. People are talking about that woman you brought here." "Mrs. Gloria, what about her?" "The neighbors are complaining. They say it's not appropriate to have a street recycler living on a property like this." Ryan felt anger rising. "She doesn't live here. She just visits the girls." "I know, but you know how it is. This building is exclusive. People have their expectations." "Expectations?" Ryan raised his voice. "Mrs. Gloria saved my daughters. She did what no expensive doctor could do. And you're talking to me about expectations?" Edward held up his hands in a conciliatory gesture. "It's not me, Ryan, I'm just warning you. I received a copy of a petition that's circulating. 23 residents signed it, asking you to reconsider the situation." Ryan snatched the paper from his partner's hands. He read the names, people who attended the same galas as he did, who invested in the same companies, who greeted each other politely in the elevators. And now they were judging an elderly woman for her social status. They can keep this paper. Ryan tossed the document back. I'm not changing a thing. There's more, Edward hesitated. Some major clients are questioning your emotional stability. They're saying your decisions are being affected, that you've been leaving the office early, cancelling meetings. I'm prioritizing my daughters, something I should have done a long time ago. I understand, Ryan. But you have responsibilities. Investors depend on you. Employees depend on you. And my daughters? Don't they depend on me? His partner sighed. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just asking you to think carefully. Consider the consequences. After Edward left, Ryan stood looking out the window. Outside, in the garden, Mrs. Gloria was teaching the girls how to plant sunflower seeds. Ava was laughing as she stuck her fingers in the dirt. Sophia was watering with a tiny watering can that spilled more water on the ground than in the holes. Mia was trying to count the seeds they had planted. It was a picture of simple happiness, of genuine love, and the world around them was judging it as inappropriate. The following week, the pressure mounted. A lawyer from the co-op board showed up with formal documents. There were clauses about maintaining residential standards and the presence of unauthorized persons. Ryan read it all with growing indignation. Even worse was when his mentor, Augustus Sterling, a 70-year-old businessman who had been his guide in his early years, asked to have lunch with him. At the city's most expensive Japanese restaurant, Augustus got straight to the point. Ryan, you're mixing things up. Affection and business shouldn't mix. I'm not doing business with Mrs. Gloria. Exactly. And that's the problem. You're becoming emotionally dependent on an employee. She's not an employee. She's a friend of the family. Augustus sliced a piece of sashimi with surgical precision. Ryan, I'm going to tell you something I've learned in 50 years of business. You can't run an empire with a soft heart. Emotional decisions lead to losses. We're talking about my daughters, not a corporate merger. We're talking about you, your reputation, your leadership ability. The investors are nervous. They think you're losing focus. Ryan put down his chopsticks. You know what I think? I think I've spent too many years listening to people like you. I built an empire, but lost my family in the process. I'm not going to make that mistake again. You're being emotional. I'm being human, something I forgot how to be. When he returned home that night, Ryan was determined, but a corrosive doubt was growing inside him. How could he reconcile everything? How could he be the present father he wanted to be and still maintain the empire he had built? It was then that he made his mistake. On Friday morning, Ryan called Mrs. Gloria into his office for a chat. She entered timidly, having never been in this part of the house before. The leather-bound books on the shelves, the abstract painting on the wall, the rosewood desk that cost more than she would earn in a lifetime of work. Mrs. Gloria, please, have a seat. Ryan gestured to a leather armchair. The elderly woman sat on the edge, uncomfortable. Is something wrong with the girls? No, they're wonderful, thanks to you. Ryan took a deep breath. Actually, I wanted to make you a proposal. I want to formalize our arrangement. Formalize? Yes, a proper employment contract. A fixed salary of $15,000 a month, full health insurance, a transportation allowance, a 401k, paid vacation, all on the books. Mrs. Gloria fell silent. Her face, usually so expressive, became closed off. Mrs. Gloria, you don't like the offer. I can increase the amount if you think it's not enough. It's not about the amount, she said quietly. Then what is it? The elderly woman stood up, and for the first time, Ryan saw something different in her eyes. Disappointment, deep sadness. Mr. Ryan, I came here because I wanted to. Because I saw 3 little children suffering and my heart ached for them. I play with them, sing to them, take care of them because I love them. Truly, as if they were my own granddaughters. I know that, Mrs. Gloria. That's why I want to make sure you're secure, protected. I don't need protection. I need you to understand something. I don't do this for money, I never have. And turning this into a job, an obligation, a business transaction, changes everything. Ryan felt panic rising. No, that's not it. I just want you to have stability. Stability? Mrs. Gloria shook her head. Mr. Ryan, I've spent my whole life collecting cans. I've never had stability, and I'm still here, standing strong. But I've always had love to give, and love, my son, doesn't come with a contract. It doesn't get a W-2. You can't buy it or sell it. Mrs. Gloria, please don't misunderstand. I'm not misunderstanding. I'm understanding perfectly. She walked toward the door. You're used to controlling everything with money, but there are some things money can't touch, and what I feel for these girls is one of those things. Wait, where are you going? I'm leaving. I can't come here anymore. No, the girls need you. Mrs. Gloria stopped at the door, turning around with tears in her eyes. The girls need their father, not me. I just gave them a little push, opened a little door, but you're the one who has to walk through it. Goodbye, Mr. Ryan. And she left. Ryan ran after her, but she was already descending the stairs. Helen appeared, alarmed. Mrs. Gloria, what happened? Goodbye, Helen. You're a good woman. Take good care of these children for me. And she headed for the front door. That's when the triplets appeared from the garden. They saw Mrs. Gloria with her purse leaving, and for the first time, in so long, they reacted with full intensity. Grandma, don't go! Ava screamed, running. Sophia and Mia followed, crying. Grandma, stay, please, stay! The three of them reached her at the door, clinging to the elderly woman's skirt, sobbing. Mrs. Gloria knelt, hugging all three at once, tears streaming down her wrinkled face. Grandma has to go, my flowers, but you'll be all right. You have your daddy. He loves you so much. But we want you, Mia cried, and I love you so much. But sometimes love is also knowing when it's time to leave. She kissed each of. Their foreheads stood up and walked out, leaving three wailing children behind. Ryan stood paralyzed in the living room, listening to his daughter's screams. Helen had to console them, lead them back inside. And for the first time since Chloe had passed, the girls returned to that state of apathy. Not the complete silence of before, but a deep sadness that consumed them. That night, Ryan lay awake in the darkness of his room. What had he done? He had tried to do the right thing and had destroyed everything. He had tried to provide security and had lost the only person who could reach his daughters. Helen knocked on his door at 2 a.m. Mr. Miller, Ava is asking for Grandma Gloria. She won't stop crying. He went downstairs to the girls' room. All three were awake, their eyes red and swollen. When they saw him, Sophia spoke for the first time since the silence had returned. Daddy, bring Grandma back. Ryan sat on the bed, pulling the three of them close. Daddy made a very big mistake. I tried to turn her love into a job, and she was sad about that. Doesn't she like us anymore? Mia asked, her voice choked with tears. No, my love, she loves you very much, that's why she left. Because Daddy didn't understand that the love she has for you can't be paid for with money. Then say you're sorry, Ava said with the simple logic of a child. When we do something wrong, Grandma says we have to say we're sorry. Ryan smiled sadly. You're right. Daddy needs to say he's sorry. For the next 3 days, Ryan cancelled all his meetings. He spent his time searching, investigating, until he finally found Mrs. Gloria's exact address through John, who had picked her up so many times. On Saturday morning, he drove the girls to Queens. The neighborhood was humble, with simple houses and narrow streets. Mrs. Gloria's house was small, painted white, with a tiny front garden where she grew herbs. Ryan rang the doorbell. Mrs. Gloria opened the door and was surprised to see them there. Mr. Ryan? Girls? Mrs. Gloria, I came to ask for your forgiveness. Ryan spoke before she could say anything. You were right. I was trying to control everything, even love. I tried to turn you into an employee when really I just wanted you to stay because I'm scared. Scared? Scared of losing someone else I love. Scared that one day you'll decide to leave and my daughters will suffer again. I thought a contract could guarantee that, could give me control over something that can't be controlled. Mrs. Gloria looked at the girls who were watching her with hope. And now? Now I've come to ask for something different. Not as a boss, as a friend. Ryan took a deep breath. There's a caretaker's cottage at the back of the property. It's been empty for years, small, simple, 2 bedrooms, a kitchen, a living room. I'd like you to live there, not as an employee, as part of the family, as the girl's grandma. No contract, no obligations, just because we love you too." The elderly woman was silent for a long moment. "No contract?" "No contract, just friendship. You can come and go as you please, spend as much time as you want with the girls. Stay, leave, come back. You're free. I only ask that you don't disappear from their lives." "From our lives." Ava took a step forward. "Grandma, please, we love you." Sophia took her sister's hand. "Promise you won't leave again?" Mia hugged Mrs. Gloria's leg. "We need you." The elderly woman knelt, embracing all 3. "My loves, my gifts from God. Of course I'll come back, of course I'll stay." Ryan felt the tears flow freely. Thank you so much." A week later, Mrs. Gloria moved into the little cottage. She insisted on bringing only the essentials. Her few belongings fit into 3 suitcases. Ryan offered new furniture, but she refused. "There's already furniture here. I don't need anything new. I just need my plants and the girls." Helen helped her get everything organized. The 2 women became even closer. In the evenings, they would have tea together on the cottage porch, talking about life. The girls were radiant. They would wake up early to have breakfast with Grandma Gloria before Ryan left for work. They spent their afternoons planting in the garden, learning to bake bread and listening to old stories. And something extraordinary began to happen. Ryan started to participate, not because he felt obligated, not because he was trying to prove something, but because he genuinely wanted to be there. On Saturday mornings, he would come, down in his pajamas, to the kitchen, where Mrs. Gloria was teaching the girls to bake a cake. He would get his hands covered in flour, act silly, and laugh when the cake didn't rise properly. On Sundays, they would all go to the park together, all 5 of them. Ryan would push the girls on the swings, run with them on the grass, and eat ice cream on a bench next to Mrs. Gloria, while they watched the triplets play. "Thank you," he said on one of those afternoons. "For what?" "For teaching me how to be a father." Mrs. Gloria smiled. "I didn't teach you anything. You always knew how. You just needed to stop being afraid of making mistakes." The months passed. The girls not only started talking again, but began to flourish. They started school again, made friends, went to birthday parties. It was on a Thursday afternoon, 4 months after Mrs. Gloria's move, that Ryan received an unexpected visitor at his office. His lawyer, Henry Costa, walked in with a worried expression. "Ryan, we have a problem. I received a notice from the co-op board. They're threatening to sue you for violating the building's bylaws. Mrs. Gloria's presence is still being questioned." Ryan read the document. It was technical, cold, full of legal jargon, but the message was clear. Remove the woman or face legal consequences. He was silent for a full minute. Then he stood up, walked to the window, and looked out at the city below. New York was buzzing with its frantic routine. Millions of people chasing money, power, status, and he had been one of them for so long. "Henry, prepare a response letter." "Saying what?" "Saying that Gloria Santos is a member of my family. And if there's a problem with that, they can sue me all they want. In fact, better yet, I'm going to find a realtor to sell the property. I no longer want to live in a place where a person's worth is measured by their bank statement." The lawyer's eyes widened. "Sell? But that mansion is worth $40 million. So what? What matters is that my daughters are happy. If I have to live in a simple house in another neighborhood so that Mrs. Gloria can stay with us without being judged, that's what I'll do." That same afternoon, Ryan canceled a crucial meeting with Korean investors to go to the girls' school spring festival. It was their first public performance since returning to school. Mrs. Gloria was there too, sitting beside him on the makeshift bleachers in the courtyard. When Ava, Sophia, and Mia went up on stage to sing with their class, Ryan felt his heart overflow. They were there, alive, singing, smiling, looking at him and Mrs. Gloria in the audience with pride. At the end of the performance, the 3 of them came running down. And for the first time, it was Ryan they ran to first. They hugged him tightly. "Daddy, you came, you really came." "Of course I came, my princesses. I wouldn't miss this for the world." Then they hugged Mrs. Gloria. "Grandma, did you see us sing?" "I did, my flowers. You were beautiful, just beautiful." That night, as he was putting the girls to bed, the moment Ryan had been waiting for almost 3 years happened. Ava hugged him and said, "I love you, Daddy." Sophia repeated, "I love you too." Mia finished, "I love you, Daddy. So much." Ryan broke down right there, sitting on the edge of the bed, holding his 3 daughters, crying as he had never cried before. They were tears of healing, of redemption, of a love that could finally flow freely. Helen, watching from the door, smiled through her own tears. Mrs. Gloria appeared to say goodnight to the girls. When she saw the scene, she simply made the sign of the cross and whispered, "Thank God." The following months brought profound changes. Ryan completely restructured his life. He promoted trusted executives to take on more responsibilities at the company. He established a strict schedule, no work after 5 p.m. or on weekends. His partners questioned him. Investors complained. Augusta Sterling called to say he was committing professional suicide. Ryan listened to it all patiently and replied simply, "I'd rather be a present father with less money than an absent billionaire." The decision had consequences. He lost a few major contracts, some investors pulled out, but the company remained solid. And for the first time in his adult life, Ryan was at peace. The most significant change, however, was emotional. He learned from Mrs. Gloria to live in the present moment, to find joy in simple things: a family dinner, an afternoon planting tomatoes, a night playing cards in the living room. On a sunny Saturday afternoon, 6 months after Mrs. Gloria's permanent arrival, something happened that brought things full circle in an unexpected way. Ryan, Mrs. Gloria, and the triplets went downtown to do some shopping. As they were walking down Canal Street, they saw a woman sitting on the sidewalk. She looked to be in her 30s, was clearly homeless, her gaze lost, her expression one of someone who had given up on everything. Ava stopped. She looked at the woman. Then she looked at Ryan. "Daddy, she's sad." Ryan followed his daughter's gaze. "Yes, honey. She is. Can I give her something?" Ryan was about to say no, but Mrs. Gloria touched his arm. "Let her." Ava took a small, dried daisy chain from her pocket that Mrs. Gloria had taught her to make. She approached the woman and held out the bracelet. "For you. So you won't be sad." The woman looked up, surprised. She took the bracelet with trembling hands, and for the first time in who knows how long, she smiled. A broken but genuine smile. "Thank you, little one." Ava came running back. "Daddy!" She smiled. She just needed someone to look at her. Ryan stood frozen. Those words, that understanding. His 5-year-old daughter had understood something it had taken him 40 years of life to learn. Sometimes all someone needs is to be seen, to be noticed, to matter to someone. That night, he and Mrs. Gloria talked on the cottage porch while the girls slept. "Do you know what Ava did today?" Ryan told her the story. Mrs. Gloria smiled with pride. "She learned. They learned." "They learned from you?" "No, my son. They learned from love. And love multiplies. You receive it and you pass it on. That's how the world gets better, one smile at a time." Ryan looked up at the stars in the New York sky, partially hidden by the light pollution. "You know, Mrs. Gloria, I spent my whole life building an empire. I thought that was success. But real success is being here now, knowing my daughters are okay, that they're capable of loving and caring for others. And they're like that because they have a father who learned to be present. You've changed, Mr. Ryan. You've become the man you always had the potential to be." A year had passed since that day at the traffic light when it all began. Ryan decided to do something symbolic. Together with the girls and with Mrs. Gloria's help, he planted an entire garden of sunflowers at the back of the property. Each of the triplets planted a row. "Why sunflowers, Daddy?" Sophia asked. "Because sunflowers always turn toward the sun, my sweet girl, and you are my sun. You and Grandma Gloria taught me how to look for the light again." On a hot summer afternoon, the girls were playing among the sunflowers when Mia had an idea. "Grandma, can we make a little sign like the ones they have in gardens?" "What kind of sign, my love?" "One that says the garden's name. Let's think of a name." They spent the whole afternoon debating. Ryan suggested the Triplets Garden. Helen proposed Gloria's Garden. Mrs. Gloria wanted the Garden of Hope, but it was Ava who had the perfect idea. "Let's call it the garden where love has no price, because here we don't buy love, we just give it." And so it was done. Ryan had a rustic wooden sign made with the words carved by hand. They placed it at the entrance to the sunflower garden. The garden where love has no price. That night, after everyone had gone to sleep, Ryan stood alone in the garden, lit only by the moonlight. He looked at the sign. He looked at the sunflowers swaying gently in the breeze. He looked at the little cottage where Mrs. Gloria slept peacefully. He looked at the mansion where his 3 daughters slept, safe and happy. And for the first time since Chloe had passed, he felt complete. Not because he no longer missed her. That ache was constant, a silent companion, but because he had learned that her love lived on in the girls, and that new loves could blossom without erasing the old ones. He had started as a man who tried to buy solutions. He ended as a father who learned that the best things in life are priceless. A daughter's smile, a spontaneous hug, the simple wisdom of an old woman who collected cans but had a heart the size of the world. Ryan Miller was still a billionaire. He still ran a tech empire. But now he knew that his true legacy wasn't in the apps he created or the awards he won. It was in 3 little girls who learned that love is given, not bought, and that this love, when given from the heart, multiplies infinitely. Mrs. Gloria had come into their lives at a traffic light on 57th Street with a shopping cart and a smile, and she had transformed not only 3 traumatized little girls, but a lost man who had forgotten how to live. The silence was over. Life had begun again, and in the garden where love has no price, the sunflowers would continue to bloom, always seeking the light, always a reminder that the most valuable things don't appear on bank statements, but in hugs, smiles, and shared moments.